It's all right. I'm just waiting to see if anyone comes in. I don't think I have any friends. I also was trying to check and see if it's even working. If you want to go look. Oh, I think I see myself. Look at me. I'm in here. Two watching. What up? Can you guys hear me okay? Comment in the chat. I finally figured this out, dude. It took me weeks. I suck at this. Does the video quality look like garbage? That's what I'm wondering. If it does, that's going to show me that I need to get my ass a webcam. You can turn the volume down. Obviously, it sounds good, though. I mean, I don't need to see myself. Okay, thanks. Nobody needs to see my ugly mug. What up? Yeah, I mean, if you guys want to see my face, I can change some lighting, but we don't really need to look at me. This will be about the charts. I'm just going to wait a little bit, see if we can get a couple more people in. We'll get into it in a few. I just want to wait and see if I can get a couple more people in here. But did you guys buy the dips or what? What did you guys think about that crazy dump last night? I don't know if this thing's wicked delayed or what. Yeah, it is. Just lagging a little bit. This is SHIB right now. This is what I'm kind of watching. Is the video quality? Can I speak? Video quality, all right? If you guys want to throw some altcoins up that you guys are watching, I can chart them up a little bit. I'm watching BT Dominance right now. Look at this free fall it's been on. This is awesome. This is going to prove whether or not our altcoins are really going to take off. Obviously, it's been in a huge downtrend. We had this huge consolidation pattern right here. Looks like a big descending wedge. And then we have this falling wedge here. So I'm kind of watching to see if we're going to come back down, I mean, to this low here. And if we break this low, it's going to have a big fall. I mean, it might have to break it and back test it and then come down. But if we break this right here, this is where alts start mooning. So look at it already broke down from this wedge. And we actually broke down here. We popped back up, tried to reclaim support, fake breakout, and then we dumped. So now we're just kind of creating staircase kind of patterns right here, continuation patterns. And it might have another push up here. There is exaggerated bearish divergence right here because it's straight across from the RSI right there. And the price action obviously is lower on the right. So that could push you back up. So I'm curious to see what's going to happen, but it's going to take a little bit of time until you lose this 39.90-ish area. That's when it's going to move fast. If we break that, I mean. But if you come back up and end up popping it, then that's a different story, because this thing could also have a triple bottom and completely rip. So kind of definitely watching to see what's going to happen there, if it touches that, if it's going to take off, or if it's going to actually tumble. So that's one thing I'm watching. And then the other thing I'm watching is the total 2, which is basically the whole crypto altcoin market cap, not including Bitcoin. And I mean, obviously it's been on a tear. If I pull up the daily, we can see how powerful it had been since it broke through this huge consolidation line right here. This was the old all-time high. Huge drop, consolidation or accumulation, rip, back test, kind of like a cup and handle, I guess you could call it. I think I heard some YouTubers calling it, but I've been tracking this for a long time. I never noticed the cup and handle, but I had heard from somebody that this is something key to watch. So this was kind of, if what they're saying is that this is the cup and handle right here. Oops. I got limited space here, but my mouse keeps clicking my laptop in front. That's the neckline potentially of this cup and handle, and then the break, and then the back test. And it's kind of, that's what they're saying anyway. But I'm kind of seeing it like, I mean, that makes sense to me too. But this was the big flag breakout. Now consolidated, and then it just dumped. And at the moment, we're attempting to get back up in it. So that's why everything's been kind of slow right now, because pretty sure a lot of traders are just waiting to see this pop back above, or if we're going to roll over. So if we roll over here, we're going to see another move, and if we can get a double bottom, that might be enough to push us back up, and then that can reset what we're looking at. So it might all correlate together, where BTC dominance does a fake pump, this dumps that, and then it gets rejected and it completely tumbles through that 40, and then we create this double bottom, and that's when everything starts running. But if that doesn't play out like that, and this thing does just get back up, then I mean, we'll see it in our alts. This is CRV. This is something that I've been tracking a lot. I mean, if you guys follow me on my trading view, I've been posting about this thing for a while. So obviously there's only so much data, and at one point when it opened up, it was up at 23.37. So I pulled a fib from the low of the move here and then to the high of the move, and the full 4.236 retracement of that whole move is all the way up here at almost $100. So that's why I'm so huge on this right now. Obviously, that's not going to be an easy ride. Don't mind my daughter singing in the background if you can hear that. I know she's doing it on purpose because she knows I'm live streaming. She wants to be YouTube famous. But that's like the overall, how high can this thing go? Potentially would be 100, and that's kind of my thought. But obviously, it's not that easy to just say I'm good. I mean, you can buy it and just forget about it. But for me, I'm kind of like I'm going to buy this. I'm going to play this up. I'm going to play it back down, so on and so forth. So what I played on this originally, if you guys follow me on TradingView, then you know. But I played this breakout. I entered at 328, and I ripped it up, and I sold it up almost at $6 at some point. I think I held through some of that. Or maybe I forget exactly how I played it, because I did buy a 420 dip. Oh, okay, so I must have swung it up somewhere in this consolidation. I rebought 420 or something somewhere. Oh, that was here. Okay, so yeah, so sorry. I wrote it up here. I wrote it back down, rebought somewhere in here, And then I wrote it up because I remember selling most of this position here up close to $6. And then I was like, all right, I got to look for another play. So I, drew out what the pattern was, and I decided to make a play off of this trend line, rebought there. It bought back up, and then I was kind of looking for it to continue up, but we ended up getting rejected off of Ichimoku cloud. This is one of my favorite indicators, is the Ichimoku cloud. Oh, it was on the 4 hour that gave me the signal to sell. And we can obviously see, zooming out, obviously it looks like spaghetti, but once you figure out how to use the Ichimoku cloud, this is where things get absolutely serious. And if you guys want to start using this, or if you do already use it, let me know. But basically, I changed my settings on it to something that one of my favorite YouTubers, Four Flies. If you guys watch Four Flies, I'm not sure, but he's the one that told me the settings. He snuck it into a couple videos that he uses the different kind of settings, and then I waited, and then he posted up a picture of it, so I fucking screenshotted it and everything. I ended up using it, and ever since then I've been using it, and I've been really getting a lot better at using it. Took some practice. It gets a little confusing at first, but basically what I saw was that when we were pushing up here, if we could get above this and hold above this 537 area and flag out up here, we could see so much of a push. But unfortunately, we only kept tapping up in this range, and then we just completely lost it. And I guess it ended up becoming more of a bear flag, which I didn't actually spot, but it was maybe something like that. Whoops. It was something like this. So, I mean, it's clearer to see something after it happens, but it's harder to actually see it during the price action. So that's definitely huge. But it ended up being kind of like this down trend move into the pattern. Big double bottom push, which I was watching this double bottom here, and then rejection. So anyway, once I entered at this 420 dip right here, or something. Yeah, 420 right here. And once I entered there, that was a pretty solid bounce play. That's what I like to do. I like to try to get these bounce plays and find that exact bottom. So when I buy in, it doesn't usually come back to it. I mean, at the time of, eventually it came back and went lower, but I like to get those bounces. So to find those bounces, you have to do a lot of analyzing. Take some time on that specific crypto that you're looking at and try to see from all the way left and try to be what caused it to be where it is now, as high as it is now. And you need to go through and make every large pattern. It doesn't matter about each individual, because there's always going to be small patterns going on that you can play each small pattern down to the 5 minute if you want. But the biggest thing is finding what caused this thing to rip the way it did. And that goes for all things, stocks, everything. So I basically, a little backstory on me is I actually took a class from Crypto Jeb, and I don't know if you guys ever saw his videos or not. I used to watch him all the time. I actually stopped watching him I don't watch him as much now, but he does have some good information. But I took his course, and it's just really good for beginners. Once you start getting into a different style of trading, then it's nice to have that basic knowledge, but then there's more to it than just knowing EMAs and certain things. But I would highly recommend it. When I got in, it was $400, and for a lifetime membership, and he'll add videos and stuff. I haven't even looked at it since, because I watched all the videos, but it's lifetime membership. So it's one of the best deals on the internet for any learning about trading, and you can use it for stocks. And I don't know how familiar anyone who's watching is with trading. I know some of you guys in here, but I suck with names and remembering who's who. What up, Shane? If you're still in here. But basically, I don't know how familiar you guys are with trading. I know Shane's been really working hard to learn stuff, but EMAs are great. But, honestly, I don't even use EMAs anymore. I literally put on ribbon, the EMA ribbon, which is pretty much the same, but it's showing like the clump of EMAs. So it's the same thing, but it looks cooler because you can have it flip from green to red to green and so on and so forth. So, I mean, it's a pretty good signal. When it's red, obviously, it's a little more bearish most of the time. Like you can see when it was red here, we were getting a lot of resistance in it. So we knew that this wasn't going to make it through most likely. That's the probabilities anyway. And then once we broke through it, that was like your signal. Oh, this is getting good. And then it was still green here. So you just kind of have that idea where this should hold the support potentially, which is my biggest thing I was looking at with CRV. Was if when we were up here, I was first looking at 446, buying this support right here. So I did put that trade in, but I was instantly stopped out because it just continued down. So then I was like, all right, I got to find my next move. I was going to watch it here at this $4 range, but it just kept going. I just happened to be around for this. But anyway, this is just CRV. So I actually was in the trade, but to be honest, I closed it out. I got this great bottom point right here. It took a lot out of me because that's the thing with trading these dips. It's very emotional because you can buy way down here at, like me, 277, and I wanted to hold this thing to the moon, but my trading instinct is like, I got to sell it here because this is complete resistance. This was the old, like, previous. I know it looks a little confusing because I have all these yellow lines, but this was the previous trend right here, or falling wedge here. So we're back in it, but we could get another rollover here, come back and tap this 328 or lower because these aren't perfect because there's a lot of wicks. Or we could come back down and retest this pattern again. Or best case scenario, break back above this $4. So I'm kind of like, do I hold it to the moon and just let it go back down and lose all my profits, buy more potentially, So for me, I'm kind of like, I'm going to wait. I'm going to sell my position now. It was hard to do, but I sold it. But I made a couple $100 just from here to here. So that was good. But now we're at resistance. So we need to get above that area, that $4 area. That's just strictly CRV. If you guys want me to look at some other stuff, let me know, because I would love to. I know I only got 2 people watching because I'm super popular over here, but you guys have any cryptos you want me to look at? Because I would love to pull up something I haven't really looked into. Just let me know or post them in the chat. And if you guys could hit the like button, that'd be great. That way I could get some people to potentially some more people to come in. I'm assuming that YouTube will definitely push my video out a little bit further if we can get some likes in here. That way I'm not only talking to 2 people. Well, there's 5 people in here. What up? What up? This is my first live stream, so it took me a while to get this thing going. I'm not very good with this, but I finally got myself a little setup. Got my laptop. I got a small monitor on the left. That's why my face is always looking left. But I know it's really dark. You can't really see my face. But post them up. Post some alts. I'll look at anything. My main thing has been CRV. That's just, I've been having all my focus on it. But I got all kinds of stocks and different things all in here. But if you give me something, then you guys can kind of see potentially how I set everything up as far as like if I'm starting on a fresh tab, you guys will be able to see how I do this. Unless you already know, then it is what it is. I can look at some stuff and see what else is going on. Nobody's wants me to look at all the time. I mean, I can look at some other stuff then. All right, so this is Bitcoin. We're going to look at this now. And this is a huge channel that it was in. Obviously, this was the first time that we peaked up on this upper resistance. I was posting a lot about this now. It was a huge rising channel or huge rising wedge right here that we broke down, created another bear flag right here, and we dropped. And it's funny because when I originally spotted this, a lot of people were saying, no way, no way, no way. But we ended up hitting the 65K area that I was calling for at one point. And I flip-flop my ideas a lot because I'm always like looking at smaller time frames. But we ended up actually hitting this peak. So if I was actually in a leverage trade, this probably would have been like one of my best trades of all time because of the amount of, it never came back to that 65K until obviously way back here. And then we went down to 30. But although I spotted this, I never did that. But anyway, so this is kind of my chart. It looks like we're getting a little drop right now. CRV's back at that support that I've been kind of eyeballing. Whoops. Yo. Well, I'm not that good at, I don't really know how to figure out what my channel is, but if you type in, I think if you type in Eric Taylor stocks, you might be able to, yeah, or the actual, it's just called Eric Taylor live stream, I guess. I didn't name it anything special. But yeah, so where was I? Bitcoin. So basically what I was watching here on Bitcoin was this, obviously after all that happened, we hit that 30K, we came up. I mean, we ended up double topping pretty much up around that 68K. And now I'm kind of looking at this as a falling wedge, which obviously it was a falling wedge that broke down out of this long-term channel. We can see here we had support touch here, here, here. I mean, a lot of people are watching this. I know for sure. That's why this was such a big drop. And then we came back to the same 42K support area that held us up here that we chopped around, made a small symmetrical triangle, and that's when we just completely pulled. And nobody was expecting this. Well, there was a few people, but that I was watching, my favorite YouTubers and stuff, which Four Flies, that's my top guy. That's where I like changed my whole trading style. And that's, I kind of trade, like, think of it like I trade a lot like him, but I do a little more line work than he does because he doesn't do a lot of lines. But anyway, what I was looking at for Bitcoin, which you always have to watch Bitcoin because if you're in altcoins, they're going to always follow Bitcoin. That's just going to be how it is. And you can see it's kind of making like a rollover action here slowly. It could push, but what happened? Talking to me? Oh. So right now with Bitcoin, I mean, it's just kind of going sideways, obviously, but we could get a drop. I'm not sure how it's going to play out. Yeah, I have to watch. It's been bouncing off this trend line right here pretty much with a few wicks, fake out up, fake out down with that support around that 48,820 and then the resistance up at 49,795. I mean, this is literally what it's doing is just chopping here. And like RSI's rolling, all that. But I have a feeling we're going to have another drop. But I'm trying to decipher if this thing's going to pull down and bounce off this, or if we're going to actually have to come all the way back down again and maybe come back all the way back down to that 42K again. Because when we hit that 30K originally, before we eventually took way back off again, we chopped around there for quite some time. And I mean, it's unfortunate. I mean, what I've been looking for is for Bitcoin to come back up and retest this channel because it likes to come back up and retest and confirm whether or not this is going to be a true breakdown that could bring Bitcoin way back down to the start of the move, which is actually 29,383. But usually it'll come back up and retest and then come back down again. So that is roughly around 52,300 to 52K. Once we lost that 51.8 or so, that was right around here. That's when we dropped. So I'm watching CRV right now because it's actually pulling down right now. But this was my main idea, my first idea. So CRV here in this rising channel, this is a cryptocurrency that I've been watching really closely. I've made a really nice bottom swing off of it way down here at this low, 272. I got it at 281, I think, to be honest. It was my exact purchase because I put it a couple cents higher in case it didn't quite hit it. But this was my idea, and we're right there right now. It's 365 to 363. This is where I was expecting that we could just come down right here, touch this, and if we hold this right here, then we should be able to chop here and potentially make a double bottom and rip. So if you want to make a trade, I mean, obviously not financial advice, and this thing could definitely fall, but this is the area where I would be a buyer right now. And then I would stop it below and maybe like just a small risk, a couple cents below or so. But I think if we hold here, then this is going to be a level. You're not going to go lower than that. So this, if it was me right now, I'd be in there buying if I was in on this, but I'm not going to do it on the live. So I'm going to miss out on this potential trade. But that's the area that I want and been wanting is this 365. So if you guys are looking at CRV, roughly it's actually 363.2. That's the exact support. So I'm getting all my alerts right now. This was my trade. So if we break it, I mean, obviously we got to wait a little bit. I mean, I would personally, I'd be sitting here, I'd watch it. I'd see how we're going to react in this range and maybe put in a trade here and then stop it below. This was obviously a potential bear flag or rising channel. And then the target of the rising channel is the bottom of the move. It always is the bottom of the move. So that would be all the way back down at my entry, which is why I closed this up here at 396 roughly, because this was the area we touched 4 times. So I pulled that from that 277 to 396, and eventually I was like, all right, this is a rising wedge. We could come all the way back down to my entry, if not lower. So I'm going to close it out. And like I was saying earlier, this was tough. But that's that support. If we can hold this, reclaim this, this could actually turn into a pretty solid double bottom right here. It's just going to take a little bit of time. But I'd be in this trade right now. I would give it a try. And then you have to just figure out your stop loss and your risk management. Obviously, you can't go stopping it below the low of this move because you want to catch that if it did fall further. But as you can see, the reason that I say this exact price is that when we created this symmetrical triangle down here that we broke out of, we finally closed support right on that 363.2 area. We closed here and we never went back down, and that was kind of my confirmation. Once we closed this hourly above, our next one was a red candle right there with that flat bottom. Our next candle wicked to that same area, and then we took off. So holding this right here, this is your bounce trade in my opinion, but we don't know that for sure because obviously we still have to reclaim above my next area, which is 376.1. We still got to reclaim that, but this is what I would do for that specifically. So anyway, that's my idea. I'm going to miss that trade. I'll just play this break though. If you break $4, then you're going to be moving up. So my idea for like a take profit zone, depending on how that worked out, would be probably all the way back up here, which I don't know where it will hit it, but it should be somewhere around $5. So if this does bounce and holds just like I expect it to, we'll see basically a bear trap, which is a really strong low that it wicks down. And if this is really, really bullish, then it rolls over and it creates another V bottom, which ends up having, this is called a bear trap because it traps all the bears. Like everyone's like, oh, it's going way down. I'm going to start shorting. This thing's going to zero. But then it buys back up and it rips. And then everyone's like, oh no, I got to close my position. Oh, it's going back up. So then it starts coming down. People are going to start shorting it again, but then it double bottoms and rips. So you have a really low left side of the W and then a higher low. It makes a higher low, and then that makes a very strong W. So as far as this, that's kind of what I'm watching. So if we do come up, depending on where we hit this is the old bear flag that we dropped down from. This was the old support. Obviously, it's rising a little bit, but I'd be contemplating potentially riding it up to there, or I'd have to, like, once we get up there, I'll have to watch because it depends how you draw this. But I'm looking at like $5 maybe. Just gotta redo some lines just to see if we can. We had a touch there. We had a touch there. Once we drop that, I mean, it's really somewhere. Obviously, once you got there, we probably have to screw around a little bit because it could be like that. Because once we lost that support, that was when we really dropped. And that's kind of how you figure stuff out too, is like, even though we could just say this was your pattern right here, which makes actually a lot of sense. You have your drop, your back test, resistance or support into resistance flip, and then drop. That could have been definitely it. But then there was another point here where it tried to maintain support and then it completely dropped. So that's kind of like where you have to figure that out. But I'm pretty sure $5 would be the biggest resistance, the next biggest resistance. So if it was me getting in this trade right now, I'd pull it up to that $5. So you have some people watching.
Yes.
Does anyone want me to look at any cryptos? You can. Where are you on? Oh, if anyone has any cryptocurrencies or anything, if you can comment in the chat, I can look at some stuff for you if you want. I don't mind. I'm just kind of like straight focused on CRV right now because that's my favorite one. But I am watching SHIB. We can look at SHIB. I know everybody likes Shiba Inu. But comment in the chat and then she'll let me know if you guys see anything. But SHIB, this is what I'm watching for SHIB because I actually attempted to make a play earlier last night or this morning. But I did make a huge play on this thing. And if you guys are on, like, go on TradingView and look for Eric Taylor on TradingView because I'm constantly posting stuff. Like, as I'm entering trades, I'm posting stuff.
What is the stock abbreviation you're talking about?
Shiba Inu is SHIB. It's basically like the Dogecoin, but it's like Shiba. Yeah, see this, everything's kind of starting to pull right now. The total 2, which is what I was talking about earlier in this, is basically the whole altcoin market cap minus Bitcoin. And this is what I've been looking at, which is this big pattern here. That if we zoom out even further, if I pull it on like a 4-hour, we can see how strong it was. We ripped, made this huge wedge or bull flag, bull pennant. And then once we pulled out of that, alts really started taking off. And then we created another kind of consolidation, but we lost that area completely recently, and it just plummeted everything. But then on this recent rip back up, we came back up, but this is what we're doing right now. So we're testing this previous support that we were holding, and we're testing it as resistance. So everything's kind of starting to pull down a little bit right now. It's nothing I'd be too afraid of. CRV is still holding up really at that support. So what I was talking about, and I'll go back to SHIB in a second. I just noticed that this was starting to potentially break down from my idea of this being just like a small flag or something, but it could still just be creating a pattern. I don't even know if this is correct yet. It's going to take a little bit of time before this really shows anything. But one key thing is that we need to get above, what is it? 1.376 trillion or something, like it's a huge amount, but you'd have to get back up above here. Once you reclaim that area, it's good. But until then, yeah, we got to be on our toes. But this could come back down and do the same thing I was talking about and make that higher low and then double bottom and then maybe come back up to retest that resistance. But SHIB just started breaking down of my idea for right now, but obviously it's not confirmed. But I was looking at SHIB here. If we look at the 4 hour, I made a post on SHIB like a while back, and I actually played a really nice swing on SHIB. I mean, it's just a bounce play. Like, you're basically, when something's in this big of a downtrend, you're going to get corrections, and the corrections are actually shorting opportunities versus longing opportunities, but you can long them. But unfortunately, that goes the same with like stocks and everything like that. You get these huge rips and everyone's like, oh, it's turning back around, let's all get in. But in reality, when you're in a downtrend, a correction for a downtrend is going way up and shooting up really fast, and then it just tumbles. So when you're watching stocks and different like pump and dump stuff, and you're seeing it all take off after it's been in this massive downtrend, and you think it's turning completely around. Are you still live streaming? Oh. And it's turning completely around. Basically, what you're seeing is a correction in an overall down trend. So that's exactly what SHIB is doing as well. So since we had this huge top up here at, actually, I think it was the 2.618 fib extension was where it rejected. Basically, you get these rips and then you take off. So when I posted about SHIB, I was looking at this, and the reason that I was able to get in on SHIB when I did was because originally I didn't have this upper trending line. We just made that once we saw how big of a rejection we got here. But this was what I was watching. I looked at all this resistance, pulled it to the exact peaks, and then we got a breakout, and then I looked down to like the, hourly or so, and I looked for the next pattern, which was right here, and then I played this pattern. And then once I was in on my trade, which I think I got in, I forget when exactly I got in. I think it was like, I don't know. Either way, it doesn't matter. It was somewhere in this like 4,300. I think I ended up taking a solid trade in 4,300. I did enter some on the low because of an idea that me and a couple people that were in a little group chat with, we all had an idea to buy like this 3,600 area just based off of the old previous high here, which was, no, not that. On a daily, it probably shows us clear. When we originally were watching this, we were looking for a drop down to this range right here. We can see where the price action came up. We tapped 35.10. We completely rejected. We accumulated. We came back up. We tapped 35.10 or 35.10. Yeah. And that was my area. So I'm like, when this was coming down, I'm like, we're going to touch this 35.10. And we hit 35.30. So I didn't get filled on the 35.10, but I did get some in and around 35 something. So I started buying there a little bit, but my main trade was the 4,300 entry. And like I said, it was based off of this breaking and then this closing 4 hour above. And the reason I knew to sell was based off of, because I posted it on one of the, not that I care what anybody says on that Robinhood app shit, but I had posted on there that I had entered at 43 something and I sold up at 5,070 or something like that, right? And I had an idea to go up to this 51.25. I didn't expect it to come up this high. I don't really see why, unless it's based off of, well, I figured it out after. It was based off of this. When we dumped here, we got some resistance underneath this trend line. So that pretty much would have told us to sold exactly here. And that's what it did. It came back to backtest this original previous support. So that's kind of how you can trade. That's the coolest thing about trading is once you figure out this shit, basically all trading is looking to the left price action, seeing what happened previously. Where did it find resistance before? Where did it find support before? And then once you lose that previous support, you flip it to resistance. So once you drop, you literally buy it and then you resell it at that previous support. And sometimes it'll break back up above the support and re-catch support. But it's so simple. I mean, obviously something like a pump and dump isn't the easiest thing to trade, but something as far as Bitcoin that has a lot of price action. Look where we found support on a previous support line. Like this right here was resistance. We dropped down. This right here was resistance. We dropped down. This right here was resistance. We dropped down. Once we broke it, we back tested it, and then we ran. And what happened on this huge jump? Where did we end up? Right at the same place that was previous resistance, and now we tapped it as support. So that's just a quick example. And then same with the big dump down to 30K. Once we, whoops, what the heck, I'm drawing all over this. This is what you have to always look at. Look left. Right here. We pushed through. We chopped around. We found support right here at exactly 29,383. And then we pulled. When we topped, we came down. What did we hit exactly? The same exact trend line here. We hit here. And what did we do after we tapped that? We went from 29K up to 70K. Like that's a long position and a half. So that's the kind of shit you always want to look with stocks and everything before price even gets there. You just, where are we right now? We're rounding over here. Where's our support? We have two places, the 42 or this. Well, we had three because we had this 53 as well. And that's what caused the drop too. I mean, pretty much this was useless. But I think I just put that there recently. But this was what we were all watching. This was our original 52.8 right there. That was where we got rejected right here. That caused this back test. So this was the area we wanted to see hold as support. And it didn't hold the support. Didn't hold the support here. Didn't hold the support here. It could never really hold this as support. So if we could have flipped that to support, that would have been a very bullish scenario. But because we lost it, kind of makes it a little less appealing as far as like it being extremely bullish, because an extremely bullish would have been this one more higher low, and we lost it. So I mean, it's still okay as long as we're above this 42K. Once you lose the 42K, it gets really sketchy. So that's kind of what I'm watching for Bitcoin. But this was where we got these ideas. Like people always are saying on YouTube videos, everything. 53K, we have to hold 53K. And if you ever wondered why, that's exactly why. Why did 42K hold? Well, that's exactly why. The data is always here in the charts. Why did 29K hold down there when everyone was calling for 20K? We were looking at it right here and saying, this is our last point of support right here, because this was the only consolidation we had. So yes, it was logical. 100% it was logical. Like Crypto Kirby, he's one of my top favorite guys. He got so much shit from people because when we were here, he was showing we could drop all the way down to 15K. All these, you know, I watch a few different YouTubers and I agree with a lot of them when we were down here. And I'm like, they're very right. If we lost this support right here, we could drop easy. Why? Because what happens in a trend that's moving up so fast like this with no consolidation, guess what happens? When it drops, it can go down just as fast, if not faster, until you consolidate. Once you consolidate, now you literally, everyone's sitting here buying, and it creates support. So you had all this buying pressure right here. That was your support. If you could flip this into support, then beautiful. So I hope that makes sense, but that's literally how you have to look at everything from stock market to cryptocurrency to all that stuff. And crypto is my favorite because in stocks, it's not as successful per se, because I've tried to buy some areas like I did with CRV recently. How is CRV doing? Are we still holding up at that same level? We're trying. We're still holding my same support here. We've not lost it. We have to wait for the next candle. This is a 1 hour, so We got a half hour before this next candle closes, and then we're going to really find out if this is going to hold or if it's going to dump. I mean, that's going to be the telling sign. And same with the total too. What did this do? It's just kind of just chilling. Bitcoin dominance. It's starting to get a little, yeah. See, this is what we were talking about earlier, was the exaggerated divergence in the RSI on the 4 hour right here. We can see where price action came down to 1823 strength, and it ripped, and then it came back down only to 25 strength. So that being said, when we dropped here, price came down to 41.20, and then when we dropped lower, we came down to 40.75. So the reason it's exaggerated is because it's straight across on the RSI. There's a bunch of different, different bullish and bearish scenarios. I mean, this is kind of, might not even be exaggerated because straight across would be like that. So this actually, and I have a little divergence cheat sheet over here. But this is basically, I think it's just, I have to look. Oh, right there. It's just regular divergence, I guess. Oh, no, this is hidden. Okay, this is considered hidden divergence because you had a low and then a higher low. So that's your hidden divergence right there. And you're getting your pop from it, and alts are feeling it right now. So, I mean, that's one way to look at and see what's going on with my alts. Are they going to do all right? So what do? I flip-flop all the time. I keep all my tabs up here, and I'm watching the total too. I'm watching Bitcoin, and I'm watching Bitcoin dominance. That's the three things that you want to be flipping between to see what's going on with my alts. Are they still holding up? Are we doing all right? You know what I mean? And then you flip back to your chart. If you're sitting here screwing around with charts, that's what I'm saying. But SHIB, because we were going to get into that really quickly. And then I'm probably going to cut this soon because we got to get going, right? So this is going to be my last thing. SHIB is breaking down right now. You can see on the Ichimoku cloud on the 1 hour, we just got rejected here. We have a lot of red Ichimoku cloud resistance. My target had moved to the downside. You love Ichimoku cloud? Is that what you think? Mike likes it too. And he goes, Ichimoku. Your targeted move to the downside is 30.80 or the previous low, which really was 29.89. So you could try to grab this wick, but it might just hit this targeted move and bounce. And it might not. I mean, this is possible that this doesn't. So this is what I'm saying. This is a bounce trade. This isn't like a long-term, holy shit, let's do this. But if, one thing that you'd probably want to look at for SHIB if we were going to buy this, this low, one thing I would probably look for, because this actually makes perfect sense. Look at this resistance right here, resistance right here. We ripped out of it. We came back. We attempted to back test it. We failed. We held support here. We bought back up, potentially breaking down. Our targeted move is 38 on SHIB, and attempt a bounce trade. And you always have to know your risk. I mean, if you're going to enter where I'm going to say, we'd have to stop it below the previous low. And that's going to be a risk. So you have to calculate that. But know that the target's 30.80. But we could actually get support right here, 31.60 roughly. Why? Because that was our downtrending falling wedge that we broke out of here. So if we did actually roll and tap that, and this is just an idea, it doesn't have to play out. This could completely fail. We could get something like that. Obviously further over, but that would be what I'd be watching for. But yeah, if you guys can smash the like buttons, that would be great. Oh, like buttons, there's only one. But if you guys can hit the like button and subscribe if you're not subscribed. Let me know if you guys enjoyed this thing. I got to get off because I got to go do some things. I am going to potentially put a buy-in on CRV after this video if I can grab this 63.2. I don't know if it's going to... I got to watch it because I don't know yet. I'm not sure if I'm going to yet. But that was my planned move. I just don't know if I'm going to buy it yet because of this potential rising wedge. And then we back tested it as resistance. And then now we're falling ever since. but this was my main support. If we lose this support, it's going to come a lot lower. And it would be the start of this move, which would be either where I bought or 30-30. So I don't know yet, but I'll try to keep an eye on it. I got to go for a while, so I don't know if I'll get in a trade. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this, and maybe I can do this more often. Maybe I'll do another one later if I have time. Peace. Once I figure out how to close this out. So maybe not peace yet. We'll get the noob over here. All these women in my house are laughing at me. All right. See you guys.